May 1st, 2004. Poland joins the EU. Wages, 40% of Britain's. Tony Blair opens the door, expecting 13,000 workers. 1 million arrive instead. Young, tax-paying, child-free Poles who rebuild hospitals, harvest strawberries, and bankroll the treasury. By Brexit 2016, they are Britain's largest foreign community. Then the tide turns. Today, those same Poles are flying home. Warsaw's unemployment, 2.8%. London's real wages, still below 2008. Since 2010, Polish pay up 44%. UK up 0.1%. Forecasts now say Polish average wages overtake Britain's by 2030, maybe 2029. This is the Great Reversal, a post-communist nation eclipsing a G7 stalwart. EU funds, anti-austerity stimulus, German factories, and 1.7 million Ukrainian refugees supercharge Poland. Brexit, austerity, and a housing catastrophe hobble the UK. The brain drain is now a brain gain. Return flights are full. Europe's economic map is being redrawn. One suitcase, one Ryanair boarding pass, one triumphant homecoming at a time. Story. At 7:42 a.m. on May 1st, 2004, the first Polish workers stepped off a Ryanair flight at Stansted Airport, clutching one-way tickets and dreams measured in pounds sterling. Poland had just joined the European Union. Its economy had tripled in size since communism's collapse, but average monthly pay hovered at £400, barely 40% of Britain's £1,000. Most Western European nations imposed 7-year restrictions on Eastern labor. The UK, Ireland, and Sweden did not. Tony Blair's Home Office modeled 5,000 to 13,000 annual arrivals, enough to plug gaps in plumbing and fruit picking without upsetting the electorate. The model shattered. Within 3 years, 665,000 Poles had registered under the worker registration scheme. By 2011, the census recorded 579,000 Polish-born residents. By 2016, 911,000, more than Indians, more than Pakistanis, more than any other nationality. They arrived in their 20s, often alone. They filled night shifts at sandwich factories in Park Royal, erected scaffolding on the Shard, and drove the ambulances that kept the NHS moving. A landmark 2013 UCL study calculated that each EU8 migrant contributed a net £5,000 to public finances over a lifetime. Taxes in, pensions and schools out decades later. It was migration's golden ratio. Then came June 23, 2016. Brexit's 52-48 verdict was not primarily about Poland, but Poland felt the shockwave. The pound fell 10% overnight. Hate crimes against Eastern Europeans spiked 41%. Polish community centers in Hammersmith and Southampton reported smashed windows and graffiti. A YouGov survey found 28% of Poles in the UK had experienced workplace discrimination since the vote. Across the Channel, a quieter revolution was gathering pace. Poland never had a recession after the 2008 crash. While Britain's coalition government slashed public investment by 30% between 2010 and 2015, Poland allowed its budget deficit to swell from 1.9% of GDP in 2007 to 7.3% in 2010. The extra spending built motorways, upgraded ports, and wired rural villages with fiber optic cable. EU cohesion funds, Poland the largest net recipient, delivered €11 billion in 2011 alone, equivalent to 2.7% of GDP annually through 2016. Exports quadrupled. German carmakers poured €20 billion into Silesian factories. Volkswagen in Rzesznia, Opel in Gliwice, Fiat in Tychy. Wages were half Western levels, but skills were British trained. By 2022, the wage gap had shrunk from 60% to 30%. Polish real wages had risen 44% since 2010. Britain's had crept up 0.1%. Unemployment in Poland fell below 3%, lower than California. Warsaw's skyline sprouted 40-story towers. Krakow's tech parks hosted Google, IBM, and Motorola. The Polish government launched Parity, returns 4 years of income tax exemption for citizens bringing foreign earnings home, subsidized mortgages at 2%, and glossy social media campaigns showing returnees opening craft breweries in Lodz and drone startups in Rzeszów. Ryanair added 14 weekly flights from Luton to Poznan. The numbers tell the reversal. The UK's Polish-born population peaked at 1.02 million in 2017. By the 2021 census, it was 743,000. Office for National Statistics estimates for 2025 put it at 700,000. Net migration from Poland to the UK turned negative in 2019 and has stayed there. In Szczecin, a former London barista now manages a co-working space for Ukrainian coders. In Białystok, a Sheffield steelworker retrofits Soviet-era flats with heat pumps for Berlin developers. The brain drain of the 2000s has become the brain gain of the 2020s. Britain's decline is not sudden, but cumulative. Productivity growth collapsed after 2007, the worst sustained slump since the Industrial Revolution. The Office for Budget Responsibility estimates a 15 to 20% loss of potential output. Business investment as a share of GDP fell from 17% in 1990 to 14% in 2023. Capital flowed into London property. Average house prices up 90% in a decade, while manufacturing output never recovered from the Great Recession. The Resolution Foundation calculates that a British worker born in 1980 earned less at age 40 than one born in 1960. Brexit sharpened the blade. The Office for National Statistics pegs the trade barrier to hit at 4% of GDP by 2023. A single lorry of ceramics from Stoke to Stuttgart now faces £2,500 in customs declarations. One Midlands firm relocated its kiln to Lodz to stay inside the EU customs union. The European Investment Bank, £40 billion in UK infrastructure since 2010, closed its London office. Public debt, far from shrinking under austerity, climbed past 100% of GDP, leaving no fiscal headroom when COVID struck. Migration policy delivered the final irony. The points-based system that replaced free movement prioritized care workers from India, students from China, and family reunions from Pakistan. Net fiscal contribution per non-EU migrant is close to zero, according to the Migration Observatory, because dependents consume schools, GPs, and housing benefits. The young, single, tax-positive Pole is now a prohibited category. Demography magnifies the contrast. Poland's native population has fallen 5% since 2000, 2 million fewer Poles, as the most entrepreneurial left for London and Dublin. Yet GDP grew 80% anyway, powered by productivity and capital. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, 1.5 million Ukrainians and 200,000 Belarusians have registered for temporary protection, lifting the effective working-age population to 40 million despite official stats showing 37.8 million. Warsaw's maternity wards report their busiest years since 1989. Britain's population rose 8% since 2010, almost entirely via migration, but per capita GDP stagnated. Housing completions in England averaged 170,000 annually against a demographic need of 300,000. Rents in Manchester rose 40% in 5 years. Rough sleeping tripled. A Polish bricklayer returning to Poznan swaps a £1,200 London bedsit for a 3-bedroom flat at £450. Same nominal wage, double the living space. Poland is not flawless. Russian gas cutoffs in 2022 sent inflation to 18.4%, higher than Britain's 11.1%. 40% of exports go to Germany. Berlin's recession is Warsaw's headache. Inequality data are contested. Official Gini coefficients paint Poland as Europe's most equal society, but wealth surveys including offshore assets align it with the UK. Convergence theory warns that 5% annual growth becomes harder as wages approach Western levels, and the war next door is a permanent risk. Yet the trajectory is unmistakable. The IMF projects Poland overtaking Italy in nominal GDP by 2030. Purchasing power parity per capita already exceeds Portugal and Greece. Donald Tusk, reinstalled as Prime Minister in 2023, pledges to make Poland the EU's 5th largest economy by 2030. In London, the Resolution Foundation warns of another lost decade unless productivity revives. Glimmers exist. The 2024 budget committed £20 billion to infrastructure, labor floats rejoining the single market's outer ring. But political cycles are short, and vested interests, pensioners guarding the triple lock, NIMBY councils blocking 300,000 homes, are entrenched. Poland, younger and hungrier, presses its advantage. Walk Warsaw's Nowy Świat at dusk. Communist tenements reborn as cocktail bars. Ukrainian baristas pulling espresso for Ryanair coders. Tesla showrooms glowing beside 19th-century facades. In Sheffield, the Don Valley Steelworks rust beside food banks. The human current has reversed not because Britain turned hostile, though some Poles felt the chill, but because Poland became competitive. A million journeys outward in the 2000s, a million homeward in the 2020s. Economics, not sentiment, writes the script. This is more than national score settling. It is a controlled experiment in policy divergence. One country invested through the crisis, absorbed €200 billion in EU funds since 2004, and welcomed 1.7 million refugees. The other cut spending by £100 billion, left the world's largest single market, and erected visa walls. The result is not just wage convergence, but a wholesale reordering of European ambition. The underdog didn't just catch up, it lapped the field. And the sound you hear is not the Eurostar beneath the channel, but the low-cost carrier descending into Chopin Airport, carrying home the future, one suitcase, one boarding pass, one triumphant homecoming at a time.